Hey, before you go, could I just get one more request? Could I get a turkey cooking agent, please? Thanks.
Sure. All right. See you. Welcome to the next episode of In the Loop. I'm one of your hosts, Alec Harrison, here with Brian Gorman. How's it going, Brian?
Fantastic, wonderful, awesome, and all the things.
You got some cool wall art that wasn't there before.
Yeah,
Do you know where that scene's of?
I don't. And honestly, that's not the one I really wanted. So these are soundproofing boards here. I'm going to move my camera a little bit so you can see this. So I'm in an office that I'm renting, and it's kind of noisy. So I put up soundproofing boards, and that's a 4x6 with 6 panels. And I wanted a mountain scene, and honestly, I'm a big, huge fan of Lake Moraine in Canada. And there was a Lake Moraine that I found that was not as big. That one actually was the size of like 2x4, like 4 feet by 2 feet, or maybe 2.5 feet. And I wanted a bigger one for my back wall. And then this one also, you can't really see it in the picture, so my head's in the way, but there's a cabin, like a little boathouse here on it. And then there's a church in the background, and just kind of like a nice little thing. It's just, it's like my vision board. I want to live in the mountains near a lake with no real, just the peaceful feeling, you know?
So when Brian retires, we can expect to see you on a little mountain lake, not
I
dealing
don't
with
know.
technology ever again.
Maybe. I don't know if my family will let me do that. So, I mean, that's a dream come true, right? But it is, a vision board. That's why they call it a vision board, right? There you go. You can see the. Now I'm recording videos for Udacity, and so I had to dress up my office, and so that's what I chose. Of course, today on Black Friday special, I did see a Moraine Lake the same size for like half the price I paid for that one. So I'm like, that's great. Wonderful.
I've always been curious about soundproofing, if it's like even worth it. With the way my office is set up, I have 2 big like glass doors. So like I think that would be my biggest issue, and then a window on this side. So it's like, I don't know. Is it worth it? How much better would it
Yeah.
sound? But that's
Well,
cool.
I'll tell you, this is a noisy
Go for it.
place. The walls don't bounce as much. You can tell a definite difference when you walk into my office that it feels deader in the air just from these little panels. I also put a bunch up on the wall here on the window because there's semis going by all day long about make me crazy. And there's another wall over here that's got windows that I need to get rid of. I need to figure out how to block the sound from that too. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's not 100% soundproof. It's certainly not an $8,000 sound pod. So
Yeah, that was we were talking about those too, because when I went to do LinkedIn Learning, they had a big open room with a bunch of like sound pods in it. And it
yeah.
was weird because you're almost like you don't really duck, but it feels almost like you're ducking because it's like they're all elevated a few inches off the ground, and then they're like basically felt all around on the inside, and it's
Mm,
weird because like your voice just dies in there. It doesn't echo, it
yeah.
doesn't go around, doesn't carry.
Well,
It's a
doesn't
cool experience.
Microsoft
Go for
has
it.
that room that's negative decibels, right? And you get paid like $1 million if you can stand there for like a couple hours because it drives you crazy. You can
Was
hear
that
your own
Microsoft?
heartbeat.
I know the room you're talking about. I didn't know if it was a
Yeah.
Microsoft room.
I think it's Microsoft.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
so quiet. It's like you start hearing things.
see, I think that I'd love to live there. I'd be like, oh, this is amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think so to kind of segue us here a little bit. You talk about wanting to live in the mountains, no technology or limited technology. I think
Right.
people who fill in a similar boat try to use low code tools sometimes.
Oh boy, here we go.
I recently wrote a blog
So
post.
Logic apps, low code. How do you feel about them?
So I think Logic apps are good. So my biggest complaint with a lot of these tools is they're all tied with subscriptions.
Hmm.
That's one thing that I really enjoy about Logic apps, for example, like Copilot Studio agents or whatever, there's a fixed monthly fee. And then if you go over so many invocations, depending on how plans are set up or what subscription you're in, you're paying a fee on top of the subscription as well. Where um, Logic Apps AI Foundry now has new GUI editors.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since Ignite, you are paying per invocation. And I was talking to somebody about this at a user group on Wednesday. They run Logic Apps, I think, once a day. And for the whole month, they pay I think it's like $1.50 or something.
Sure.
And it moves a decent amount of data. He's like, if I was going to pay a subscription service like an Copilot Studio, for example, or Power Automate, let's just talk Power Automate, right? Power Platform has a subscription fee, or it did. I think it all got rebranded. I'm not 100% sure where all those workflows went, but
Okay.
you're paying $25 a month or whatever that subscription is, $25 a month. I think it's somewhere in that range.
Okay.
He's like,
What
I
do I
can
get?
run this thing go for it.
I was just gonna say, what do I get for my money then that makes it worth it?
Right. It's just a different GUI editor. It's a little bit more, I'd say, low code friendly.
Okay.
But to your point, if I can go and pay $1.50 a month, that's a little bit more painful. But then, I'm still less than 1 month of that subscription paying for this basically the whole year.
Right.
Is it
Huh.
worth it? And then with Logic Apps being in Azure, you can have all the whole enterprise lifecycle features.
Sure.
I did a really deep dive in Copilot Studio the last couple weeks, and the amount of almost complete features that tool was kind of frustrating.
Okay.
And by what that I mean is, if you approach it from a normal enterprise software standpoint, you typically want to have your CI/CD pipeline. Typically going to want to use Entra ID groups, so like security groups, not typically M365 groups.
Right.
And you're going to want to be able to update when you build the next thing, because you're going to be promoting through environments. You're going to want to update. You're not going to want to have to tear it down and put it back every single time.
Sure.
With Copilot Studio, there was some of those features, but you couldn't do it in your native CI/CD runner, for example.
Okay.
The only way to update a Copilot was if you you could go and deploy one all programmatically. That was fine.
Okay.
The rub came when you needed to update. It required you to delete the Copilot and then redeploy it.
Wait, so if I created this Copilot agent, is that what we're doing here?
Yep.
And in Copilot Studio,
Mhm.
and which is the GUI low code version of creating an agent, getting you up and running right away, right?
Yes.
But you're saying that if I'm wrong about anything and I need to update it, my only option is apparently to delete it and recreate it with the updates? Like there's no just modify?
No, so there's a modify if you want to keep it in that environment.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
want to push
Sorry, what's an environment?
Yeah, so if you want to push it straight to prod from the GUI, you can do that. And you can update it, and you can edit and do all that. When you start getting more enterprise software, you don't want somebody necessarily touching the thing that is out to your production users.
Mm-hmm.
So software development environments.
So like if I'm trying to, low code my demo or my POC and my local, or even like just to get going here, I can push that all day long. But what you're saying is if you want the security or the robustness of a pipeline to be able to keep people who don't have rights to do things, just no way to do it.
Yeah, the closest you can get is you can programmatically. So basically, you can export the Copilot from your local environment, which you have to do manually. I don't think there's a way to do it on a cron, or there's not a way to do it, on a cycle of like you publish or hit save on this end in the GUI, and that then triggers your production deploy.
Okay.
And this is talking specifically about Azure DevOps or GitHub. I'm not talking about the deployment pipelines that are built into Power Automate, because those are a whole different beast, and most enterprises aren't going to, in my experience, aren't going to want to adopt a whole new CI/CD platform just for a different tool.
Right. That's never going to work.
Right. It's going to be too much overhead, too complexity. You have different ways to manage it, all that. So say I have my local environment that you just click opt in, right? You clicked, built the thing, published it. So if I want to move it to let's say my dev environment. So you have we'll call it the Brian environment because it likes to name environments after you if you're baking your own in Copilot Studio.
Okay.
You have your Brian environment. You now want to push it to the dev environment that maybe
Okay.
all your dev users have access to, or your beta environment, whatever. What you can do is you can export that Copilot and basically get the build artifact.
Okay.
That can be done via the CLI. Then you have
Okay.
that artifact. You can then publish it to your
Okay.
dev environment. So you can basically create the Copilot, publish it. Now everybody who can go to the portal and look at it can go do that. And then you can do another command to publish it to like Teams, for example.
Okay.
The issue comes in if, say, you, Brian, are now back in your local environment. Say you want to add another feature, you want to add another data source, you want to change something in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't then take that newest artifact to the latest artifact and just update the Copilot that exists out there today. At least not that I can find.
Okay, so if I build this thing, I pushed it out. So my deployment pipeline is to self-publish it into an artifact, publish the artifact using the CLI to my environment at Azure or wherever I'm hosting it. And now I want to make a change. I can't make a new artifact, publish that to my artifact repository, and then deploy from there into Azure over the same one that already exists.
Correct. Because
Okay.
what will happen is you'll have a Dataverse conflict because basically your Copilot that already exists will hold
What's
the
data?
name. Yeah. So it'll say like you can't have duplicates. You're
Okay.
screwed.
I'm like, what's this Dataverse? That sounds amazing. Sorry.
Yeah. Dataverse is a data engine that runs behind some of their low code stuff and some of the Fabric stuff.
Okay, so it is a thing in Azure, Dataverse. It's not just some term you made up to describe.
Correct.
In the
correct.
Dataverse, things
is
are
a thing.
conflicting. Okay.
Yeah. No. It's a thing. It's a tool. It's it's basically you can have like dynamic tables and whatnot in Azure, the low code
Okay.
world. And then I think there's some stuff in Fabric with it too. But
Okay.
what happens if you try to republish it is there's not an update command. The only thing you can do is create. Well, then when you try to recreate something that already exists, you get a conflict because the name's already taken. And if it's a thing that's already deployed and published to your teams, it's kind of an issue. So the only way to do that programmatically is you have to make a REST call to delete the bot by the ID, and then you can recreate it again and republish it to wherever you need it to go to.
Yikes.
But if you're expecting your teammates or coworkers to be adding these apps every time you publish it, that's kind of a pain.
So
if
they
you publish
wouldn't
it to
have
a
it
Teams
anymore.
channel, yeah,
Okay.
they would lose control or lose connection with it because it would have basically got deleted for a second. They would have lost that they added it and then recreated.
And so they'd have to re-add it again?
If they're adding it that way as individuals, yes. Or behind
Okay.
the scenes, it would get just republished to your Teams channel potentially,
I
depending on
see.
how you publish to Teams. But that whole
So-
process becomes a pain. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, like, is getting it into Teams easy? Because you just said that whole process seems like a pain. But when I hear Teams apps, I think, oh, Lord, help me. Like, I feel like this is going to be hard to do just because it's in Teams. And there's going to be like, do I have to hoop jump to get it through the Microsoft store to get it so that Teams can import it? Or can I just randomly import something into Teams and be like, yeah, that's all right, Microsoft, you don't need to vet this? How does
For
that
your own
work?
organizations, you can just publish it straight to your teams. So you can just go
Okay.
straight to your organization as long as you're a Teams administrator and a administrator in Copilot Studio.
I see.
So you basically can just say like, oh yeah, for my organization, this app is now allowed.
Okay. But they would still have
So-
to reapprove every new version then.
That, or you use a service principal or credentials that could just do that programmatically.
Okay.
So you
But
can
yeah,
publish to
every
Teams
artifact.
programmatically. Yeah,
But
every artifact.
every artifact requires a new approval.
Yes.
That's just,
Or a new publish, which can be,
Okay.
if you give and that's another
feel
issue you
like-
kind of run into, right? Is you need a service principal that's a high enough level, which I think is a system administrator on the Power Apps side. So your job
Okay.
runner needs to be a system administrator in Power Apps and a system administrator in Teams to be able to pull your artifact and then publish in Teams.
Wow.
So now your job runner is basically a god in these two systems.
Yeah.
Uh, if somebody does something that they don't know what they're doing, goodbye all Copilot agents because somebody could just go nuke
Right.
them all.
So let's backtrack this train a little bit because um, I hear Copilot more than I hear any other word in the world right now. I swear, every
Mhm.
other thing is Copilot this, Copilot that, um, and I don't mind it because like at least it's not like, hey, let's rename all these Copilots to different things, and so nobody will know what we're talking about. I'm looking at you, Entra ID. But anyway, the idea is like we have Copilot this, Copilot that. I got GitHub Copilot. I've got a Copilot on my machine. I got an M365 Copilot on my machine. I got Copilot in Azure. I got Copilot in Word. None of these things are the same thing. And now we got Copilot Studio. Can I create all of these? Is it specific, or is it Copilot Studio specifically just to create bots for use in Teams, or what? You know, what's my end game for using Copilot Studio? Like, can you give me like just a 50,000 foot view of a couple use cases, or like the things you were deep diving on without giving away any details?
Yeah, I think the biggest, easiest selling point they have right now with Copilot Studio is it's supposed to be a GUI to create agents. And the easiest one
Okay.
to do is a lot of people are basically pointing it as SharePoint libraries. So I just want to give it access to my SharePoint library, which has
God, you're
maybe
gonna
my
make.
benefit information. Go for it.
Oh wow, I've heard Teams, SharePoint, all in the same conversation, and I'm just sorry. I didn't mean to
So
interrupt with that silly comment. Go ahead.
no, you're good. That's the easiest use case is like I have a document store somewhere. I just want an agent to be able to index it and traverse it. So you just basically give it the connection or the knowledge base to your SharePoint library, and it can just go and index and do that.
For the same reason you would do like a knowledge mining, where you're basically saying you want to ask it questions.
Correct.
So you can find out about your benefits in SharePoint, or whatever shared in the SharePoint.
Correct.
But
Whatever's in that SharePoint library.
okay, but can it open Word documents and search through them, or do you have to do extra things to crack the documents, or like how do you set up this agent to do the things you need it to do that are important?
Yeah, it can read all those. And it actually behind the scenes also adheres to whatever your SharePoint access rules and rules are. So like if I'm talking to it, it knows what files I'm allowed to see. If you're
Hmm.
talking to it, it knows what files you're allowed to see. And that's another big so I think the big 3 points of why you people have been historically picking it is low code.
Yeah,
It adheres to whatever security policies you already have in place in SharePoint. So you don't have
yeah,
to
that's
worry
pretty
about
nice.
data governance. And then the last mile, deploying it to Teams is like a click of a button, assuming you have the right roles or
Okay,
right credentials.
okay,
I think where the wheels start to fall off the bus here, though, is in Ignite, they just announced a SharePoint agent for SharePoint. So you
okay,
can now chat with libraries and whatnot directly in SharePoint,
okay.
which is
But can
one of
I
the biggest,
program
if not,
against that, or
I
is that
don't
just
know.
so let's be sorry, I just want to come in from like the
No, you're good.
I don't know what the heck's going on view here. So like if I create a Copilot Studio agent for SharePoint, its main job is to let me talk to SharePoint, right? And ask my documents. You're saying
Correct.
now like that manual interaction I'm doing that I used my agent for, I can just go push a button in SharePoint and get the same functionality without building something in Copilot Studio.
Correct. It's built into the product now.
Okay. And there's no benefit then to doing a Copilot Studio over that agent, like no programmatic benefit, or is there more control, or some reason I might still say I want Copilot agent to be built in Copilot Studio rather than in SharePoint agent, just letting it ride?
You could give it some system prompts potentially, or maybe some other knowledge sources that maybe
Hmm.
are a little bit on top of there. But I think I think that mode is getting further and further or getting smaller and smaller because I think
Okay.
SharePoint is building these agents now to kind of bridge that gap.
Okay. So, and I still want to go back to this because I think what you said was really critical, and I still don't know if I believe it. Like, if I am there and I go and I ask my HR benefits document, what something is, and you're there and you ask the HR benefits document, First of all, we can't really guarantee AI is ever going to give us the exact same answer, right? It might hallucinate something for you, or it might give me something completely different, or it might give us the same thing, but worded so differently that we both think we got completely different answers. But what you're telling me is that this thing is somehow going to be smart enough to say, well, I only can use these 3 documents for Alec, but for Brian, I can only use this one document and find the answer in it, or say it doesn't have it based on that. Like, because to be honest, like, that's a pretty fancy feature. If you're going to tell me that I don't have to do extra work or create different indexes to segregate roles, now I can just let the agent do it. I just don't believe it. I don't think that's possible. I don't know how it's going to say, whoops, that document I can't look at today. And then be like, somebody's coaxing the agent, be like, come on, agent, just let me have a little bit of sugar here. Help me out. And the agent finally says, okay, well, I know secretly there is a document, but I'm not supposed to tell you this. But yeah, Alex making $25 million more than you every year. Sorry. I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean? Like, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it's like, without doing extra configuration or having separate indexes, I don't believe the agent won't screw that up.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, Copilot Studio or Copilot Chat for the enterprise already does that today. So it'll allow you to search all of the documents that you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
That's I forget, that might be, they keep changing the name of it. It used to be just called Enterprise Chat.
Okay.
The name might be something different now. But yeah, it goes through your access policy of SharePoint and will only use the documents you have access to.
Okay. So it's almost like an on behalf of permission then.
Correct.
And so my fear of it using the wrong documents is irrelevant, because those documents may exist, but if it's on behalf, even the agent doesn't see them during my chat session, whereas the agent might see them during your chat session. Yep. Okay. I can be on board with that. That makes more sense. So.
And that's part of the, like, I think technically behind the scenes, it doesn't index it like beforehand. So like, if you think of a normal knowledge mine, right? Like, we build the index beforehand, then it doesn't really matter what user's using it. That's just the data and the data sources powering the machine.
Right.
I think the way this works is a little bit more dynamic of, I'm going to first see who you are, and then going to use that to propagate some sort of real-time data store to say, here's what you can actually see.
Wow.
I don't know 100% how the technology works, but that is my assumption, just because of like how it works slightly differently than like kind of a normal knowledge mining solution, because it can do that. Well, you're Brian, you can see this. I'm Alec, I can see that. It is now called Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat is the new name for it. They keep changing it. I think it's had 6 names at this point. But yeah, it's an organizational level chat that lets you do that. And then that's where I think the SharePoint magic comes, because they've already built like the, I know who you are. You can then just point an agent at just one library.
Sure.
So that you're not spanning across all of them. You have a purpose-built agent that just does one thing.
Okay.
And that, I think that's one of the selling points. What I think, the reason why I think a lot of that's going away is now in AI Foundry. So you have SharePoint agents. You have a thing built into the product to do essentially what you've been tacking on with another product.
Right.
Which comes with a subscription fee, which comes with, users using it, all that. And then you have to maintain it, right? There's the cost of ownership of maintaining it. So that goes away. AI Foundry now has click deployments. So you can just hit a button and deploy to Teams and Copilot Chat, or a 365 Chat, whatever you want to call it now. So if you build agents and workflows, you can just do a one-click deployment to those platforms now. So the last mile thing is gone.
Okay.
And then finally, workflows allow you to do kind of like, it looks similar to a Logic app as far as a low-code development.
Sure.
You can drag and drop or have multiple agents, or start with a question or a prompt that can then, and then where it's even more powerful than Copilot Studio is you can then start having multi-agent systems potentially too. So I could ask an agent a question and then have like a decision tree to then trickle to other agents. So maybe I built a knowledge source. And Azure's always had a SharePoint integration to index stuff. I don't know if
you're saying you could build a hierarchy of SharePoint agents.
Correct.
Okay.
So instead of having 12 agents to ask about all the different parts of your enterprise, I could instead have a planner agent that then disperses it. I could have a workflow that takes your question at intake, splits it off to the right agent downstream, and then now I've just built one agent that can answer all of your organizational questions instead of all these small purpose built agents.
Okay.
And on top of that, you're not paying a subscription fee to build that. It's only invocation. So if you're not using it, it's free. Well, minus, AI, the free with an asterisk. AI search, if that's your indexing tool, does have a little bit of a charge, but
Okay.
it's not, $15 or $20 per employee per month.
Right. Okay. So I built this low code AI agent thing.
Mhm.
It's not just for SharePoint, right? Let's clear that up real quick. You could use Copilot Studio to do agents for other things, right? Or
Yeah,
is it
you
all just
can like
SharePoint?
point it at websites and other things that you can do
Yeah.
with other tools
Okay.
too. SharePoint was just the one that used to be in public preview in Azure that was not in
Okay.
preview in Copilot Studio.
Okay.
There's other knowledge
S-
sources you can pick too, though.
Okay. And so this is supposed to just eliminate me having to use like Python or C# to make an agent, or am I just off base? Like when you say low code, I assume that means that there's a high code version that I can code and do the same thing.
I don't know about it's more no code in the Copilot Studio case. In the AI Foundry, it's also no code technically, except you could export it as like YAML templates if you wanted to like put it in a CI/CD pipeline.
Okay.
So that then you could have, your uh, environments and different, levels of things.
Okay. Interesting. So why would one choose low code over high code or high code over low code
I think the
or no code,
Copilot
whatever you were calling it?
Studio is, I think it's shifting to being more of a quick to pilot system.
Okay.
So if you want to do very little like overhead work and it's a data source that's easily accessible, you could do that with an agent and just create it and just do a quick POC. I
Okay.
think everything else though is going to easily quickly move to AI Foundry because
Okay.
it's getting easier and easier to index documents, to index different data sources in AI search. It's getting easier and easier to do low code or no code development in the portal. And then you get like basic agent orchestration. Uh, and then all of those are also easily exposable to the agent library. I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head. Sorry, I wrote it down over here.
Okay.
Where is it? Agent framework.
Hmm.
You can easily import workflows and agents if you want to build like a C# application or Python or Java. I think agent framework is in all those.
Okay.
It used to be semantic kernel and uh, that got merged with AutoGen to now the agent framework.
Oh, I see. So this is the next iteration of the kernel deployments and kernel development.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And then you can import workflows, you could import agents, you can import all that into those workflows
Okay.
or into like the C#. That would be the full code.
I see. So, okay. So let's say that we're trying to do an enterprise level thing and we've been advised now, Copilot Studio was a good idea we maybe even built one in Copilot Studio. Now we want to do more stuff. We should probably be doing it with this Microsoft Agent Framework and AI Foundry. Is that
Yes. Yep.
accurate? Okay. So the other thing, I mentioned earlier, I hear Copilot all the time. I hear agent all the time. And when I think of agent, I think of the guy that I call when I need car insurance or,
Mhm.
um, the person that answers the phone at the hotel and says, I'm the booking agent, right? But we're just throwing around terms agents and agents and agents all the time, agents and copilots. My goodness, if you can make it through the day without hearing about agents or copilots or both, you might need to play the lottery, right? Because it's like your luckiest day ever. Um, but why are we just like throwing around this term agent? Like, what's the point of an agent? And like, why are we saying agent? And like, if you say I want a coding agent versus a SharePoint agent versus a booking agent or whatever, like, what does that look like? How do we keep this straight in our heads?
I think an agent is just something that can do something on behalf of a user. So it's supposed to be
Okay.
something that can do a task or so if you think about like even ChatGPT or something, right? Like it's fetching and
Mhm.
doing researching on your behalf potentially.
Okay. So it's an
So
agent for research, a
correct.
research agent. Okay.
Yeah. And then you can even add more tasks to agents to make them more autonomous. That's where autonomous agents come from, right? So like I'm going to send you off to go book me a hotel or something or go plan my
Sure.
vacation. It can go off and do that, schedule it, all that sort of stuff. I think that's where you're starting to see more and more advancements of
Hmm.
not just, hey, here's a one step thing that you then have to ask use your prompt about or back again. You can start orchestrating different agents or orchestrating different workflows to now saying,
Sure.
instead of this one task, you're now doing this entire problem or process that then a human reviews.
Okay. So the human still has to be in the loop, or these autonomous agents can just start making decisions for me. So like the worst thing that could ever happen to me is you booked my hotel room without me approving that hotel room, right? I'm not
Mhm.
saying that's the worst thing. I'm just saying like if I'm going to go to, a vacation and you book me a hotel room, but you forget that I don't like smoking and somehow you found a smoking hotel room and it was $10 cheaper, so you booked it for me. Like I'd be pretty frustrated. Like how do I keep my agents from getting out of control and becoming Skynet, basically, right? The worst fear of every Gen X person is that Skynet is being invented right now.
I think it's just you need to give it proper guardrails and descriptions, right? Of like what your criteria of a room is. Um and set
Sure.
parameters too. Like you could go stay at the Ritz Carlton or you could stay at a sketchy like Motel 6 on the side of the interstate. Like
Right.
budget is another concern. So
Hmm.
you can have AI help suss out some of that too. Like what would you need to make a successful reservation? And be like, well, Brian, I need to know the dates you're going to stay there because if
Yeah.
I'm also scheduling it for a date you're not going to be there, why would you want that
Right.
hotel?
Or like when I asked Copilot last year to plan my vacation out to Glacier Park, and I had 2 weeks, and it got me there, and I saw all the things along the way, and then it gave me like a day to get back home from Northwest Montana. And I mean, while I could drive for 18 hours nonstop, probably not the wisest decision.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, like I feel like now we're going to create rules for our agents. We're going to have our agents. We're going to have these rule sets. We're going to spend so much time like fine tuning and making sure the prompts are right. We could have just called the hotel ourselves and made the reservation and be done with it. And maybe we do that 3 times a year, right? Is it really worth all this work?
I think there's definitely a scale factor that we have to think into. Like, not everything needs to be automated
Yeah.
because, like, to your point, if it's something that you do 20 minutes a year and you never want to make sure it never fails, like, you're going to probably be very focused in that. Um, Excuse me. I think of like buying a car.
Yeah.
Most people probably don't want to just give an agent the task to buy me a car and it shows up tomorrow. And I'm stuck with
Mm.
whatever the APY is. I'm stuck with whatever the purchase price was. Like, um, I think there's tasks like that that there's not going to be as much value for. But if it's like, hey, Brian, I'm going to read this email and reply to it. And I reply to hundreds of emails a day. Okay, I'm starting to get some of my time back. I'm starting to get some of my life back.
Yeah, but then you
I
don't know
think
what's
that,
in the email. If anybody asks you about it, you have to go get a summary of it quick. Pretend like you read it.
I mean, again, it
I'm
just
just
depends on
saying.
what you're doing, though.
Yeah.
Like I get a bunch of emails from people who want to book. It's fallen off a little bit because I fell out of I think whatever tool or system was recommending people to come on the podcast. But I used to get a ton of them where they would keep sending me automated follow up emails. I get three
Yeah.
emails from guests, and it was like on a cron. 1 day after the first email, 3 days, 5 days.
Right.
And I'd always get them. They just keep hitting me. And I'm like, I haven't looked at the email or didn't even have a chance to read their wall of text they sent me.
Right.
And you could tell who was using the tool because they were all structured in a similar way. Compliment the most recent podcast episode, talk about their guest, talk about why they were great to be on the podcast. And then they would follow up like 1 day later, 3 days later, and 5 days later. And
So
I got
these are
enough of
guest
them.
agents.
Yeah,
Podcast
exactly.
booking agents.
And then it would go, replies would go to a real person, but then I can't tell you how many people I'd get the spam stuff from, and then they wouldn't follow up with the actual reply. Like I'd reply and they'd be like, just blow me off or whatever.
Right.
I don't think when we were in the peak of that being the worst, it wouldn't have been a bad thing for my agent to be able to decide who it thought was an appropriate guest and then scheduled that and got me the date, and then I could just schedule it and send out the calendar. And I could still be the final approval, but I don't need to do the stupid little back and forth of, does this Friday work for you? I don't know. Let me go talk to the person. Oh, no, that Friday doesn't work. Does this Friday work for you? And it's real binary. Did we have somebody scheduled that Friday or not? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's where I think like this time of my life I could get back or just not have to worry about. Because the worst thing the agent could do is schedule somebody when we're not available and then we have to reschedule.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like the cost of failure is so low, but the back and forth and the time and all that is a lot.
Right.
So I think it's just, you got to look at it that way. Like for you, I don't know if I would build an agent that would be negotiating my contracts for, if you're 1099ing or training or any of that.
Right.
Because then somebody might ask you about it. Like, oh, no, I didn't even look at that. Or your agent might say, yeah, Brian will work for $1 an hour. That's cool.
Yeah, no givesies, backsies.
Yeah. Here's the contract I'll sign on his behalf.
Wow, it's going to get me a raise. That's amazing. Just kidding.
But I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like you need to make sure it's automating where the cost isn't very high if it fails. Same with hotels, right? Like worst case, a lot of those have like 24-hour cancellation policies.
Right.
If it screws up and you don't like the hotel, cancel it. But it's also like you, Brian Gorman, are probably not going to build your own AI hotel booking agent.
No.
Because you're not doing it enough.
Right. It wouldn't make any sense.
I'm about to call somebody about home insurance and car insurance and all that. He's a insurance broker.
Right.
Probably makes sense for him to have an agent that he could plug in all my demographic information and go get the best quote for insurance. Doesn't make sense for me to buy that because I check my insurance maybe once a year.
Yeah. But doesn't his company just give him an app to do that anyway? Why does he need an agent to do the thing he could, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be interesting if somehow this person had like an independent agency and they were able to book with, some of the big players like State Farm, Progressive, whatever, that would allow an independent agent to sell their insurance.
Well, that's how brokerages work.
Yeah, some.
Yeah.
Like
they're not able to offer everybody, but yeah.
Right. They can't I know like Geico doesn't let independent agents sell it. You have to be a Geico employee, right? So you can't, when you call Geico phone, you're getting someone who's directly an employee of Geico. You're not getting John down the street who's running an agency and actually could sell you Progressive or Geico, right? And so in that case, you're just like looking at, they already have their apps internally. Why would he need an agent? Well, maybe the internal thing says, oh, now we need agents to go do the underwriting task, do the other thing, right? And then all of a sudden the company, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But the guy down the street would only make sense to write an agent if he had the ability to like query 5 or 6 different, and rather than him have to put the same thing in 5 or 6 different times for 10 calls a day. Yeah, that makes sense for me. I still think we are on the verge of this, and I just saw a post from another guy today that's doing this, and basically I think the days of being the low level developer are starting to get numbered, in that fact that you now have the ability to define well-defined user stories and allow your agents to write the code within
Mhm.
certain parameters. At some point, like, are we just going to be like, I'm not really a coder anymore. I'm just a code agent monitor, like a manager of agents instead of manager of people. I don't know.
That's what Microsoft published in their Frontier Firm future prediction, that
Okay.
will eventually be people that have like armies of agents that we are managing, and that'll be our typical day to day.
And if that's the case, like, I can't even imagine that there's that much work in that area that you couldn't, like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do when that happens.
I mean, I think security is always going to be an issue. I think you're going to see lower level companies able to hire one developer that could potentially build a lot of custom software that they normally would have been cost prohibitive.
Don't you think the
Uh,
cognitive load on that one developer, though, even though it's agents building it, the cognitive load of having to make sure the agent did it right for 5 different projects is even worse than just having 5 developers doing it themselves?
it could be.
Because I can think of the times when I'm in, like, trying to switch context between multiple projects on the same day, and then just being like, "Okay, where did I start at? Where's this going?" Now, granted, you don't have to be as context aware, but you still have to be remembering, well, what's this project need again? What's the goal of this? Is this code going to do what it's asking it to do? Does the unit test line up? Did the agent write unit tests to pass its own code and none of it makes any sense at all, but it passes the tests? Like, there's all kinds of other additional considerations there, and I think maybe maybe we're living in a little bit of a fantasy land to think, one person can manage a bunch of agents. I think maybe there's a limit, just like you don't want one manager having 50 developers that they're trying to
Mhm.
manage. You want one manager to maybe 5 developers, right? So maybe there's a 5 agent cognitive load limit or something that we're going to discover. I don't know.
I don't think that's wrong. I think the other thing that you'll see that maybe will be a little weird is the other thing that sucks when you switch projects is because they were written by different people typically.
Hmm.
So the coding style, the standards, how they do that is all going to be wildly all over the board. Like I think about it as a consultant, when I jump into a company, even ones that have good practices and procedures, a lot of the project to project work looks very different.
Yeah.
What you're going to see
But I
with
mean,
AI
part of that's
agents, go for it.
Go I was just gonna say, part of that's just evolution. Like, my
Mhm.
company 2 years ago developed this way. We found a new product, so all of our new projects are in this one. So even the same person writing the code could be a completely different approach. Or maybe the decision was made, I don't know, 25 developers on our staff, and we've been doing everything in web forms, and we've been kinda getting by, because there's still lots of projects in web forms, but, you know, somebody's been talking a lot about this React thing. Let's start doing all our new stuff in React and move there. Right now, everybody's still writing the code, but different tech stack because we moved. We made a move, right? So not only is it just different people writing code, it's different tech stacks because of the natural progression of the evolution of development by nature. But anyway, go
Well, I
ahead.
think with AI though, when you decide to make that change or cut over, you then have agents that can upgrade and get it all to a uniform standard and style.
To the point that they were
So
trained to.
correct, but they will all look the same. So when you jump from one project to another, it will look
Right. But then
similar because it's
when
the same agent doing everything.
Yeah, but then when Claude Sonnet 7.9 comes out and it's using a different paradigm for its React code, now all of a sudden you have the same problem again, right? The original Claude agents did it this way, the new Claude agents do it that way. Now we've got to manage both of those, and it's different agents. And can we run a Claude 7 agent against code that was written by Claude 4 without it blowing up?
Maybe. I don't know if
I
there's
think it
a
would be
there's a
smart
right
enough to
answer,
upgrade it.
unfortunately, yet, but I think that's the future hope, right? Is that we'll get to a point where it's um they'll put out the same similar code so you can easily do that.
Well,
Say, oh,
hopefully
I'm going to
the
jump
Claude
from
7
project to
agent would look at the
project.
Claude 4 agent and say, "Oh, you did it that way. How cute. Let me fix that for you." Now I
Yeah,
see
or
the
it'll just keep.
problem.
Yeah, yeah. keep it in the same way or same style too. That could be another thing that we tell it to do as well.
Yeah.
Because there could be a real reason to do the progression, right? Like maybe it's more performant, maybe it's better for what we're doing, maybe, and
Right.
there's newer ways that comes out with innovation. And there's also people who are running, uh, you know, .NET Framework apps that haven't been touched in 15 years because they don't want to upgrade it and it works fine.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think we'll see where it all shakes out. I think that's the ultimate end goal, right? Is that you could have multiple projects running. If it's being actively developed at the same time, it's going to be done in the same style, the same technique, the same standards. You don't have to worry about you can have linters and all that, right? But you shouldn't have to worry about it being linted to consistency because the same AI model is basically then doing all of those.
Right.
Then you're being left to record or to approve it or review it. I think that's why
Yeah.
a lot of people are getting real hyped about spec-driven development, is because you can say, okay, agent, here is all the specifications, go deliver to those
Yeah.
specifications, and then those are basically we BDD's been a thing forever, right? Behavior-driven development,
Right.
or you know, so it's like, okay, well, what if we put those in backlog items and then it uses a semi-gherkin format to kind of keep progress of what it's doing, and then it creates those, finishes them out, and then ships the code. Well, we can do that.
Right.
So I don't know. I think the real test to see is that will it be of quality? I think you're
Uh-huh.
going to see smaller and smaller use cases potentially be able to build apps, and then we're going to be more probably on the administrative side.
Yeah.
And security. Security is always going to be huge. How do we make sure that the AI agent didn't just make this app that, I don't know,
Yeah.
sends out vendor
This
payments open to the world?
exposes all the details of every um, human female on the platform that's trying to rate a guy that she dated.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Cool.
But
Well,
yeah.
I think that's about time
Okay.
for a quick
Well, that was
15,
fun.
20 minute. That was a good one.
Yeah, we
Any
ended up
last minute?
uh agent copilot, copilot agent, copilot, copilot agent, 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 copilot.
And
The
Brian
end.
just saved our SEO at the end.
Claude,
Oh,
Claude,
there it is.
Anthropic, Microsoft.
Anybody who wants to do that, feel free. But anyway, have a good Thanksgiving. This should come out the week of Thanksgiving, so hopefully you're
Nice.
spending time off away, uh, decompressing from work. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Get
have a
some
great
get some
holiday.
good rest with your family. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you, Brian.
Hey,